odd for me to be outside of our hot shop and not get to talk about glassblowing while it's happening. So I can't help myself. So this is a blowpipe. So all of the glassblowing that we do starts with this straw device. It is made of metal. It has a hole on both ends, and it works the same way. Sorry if you heard me say this earlier. It works the same way as a honey gatherer. So you stick it in a pot of molten glass and work with it, and kind of like dipping a candle in wax. The more dips you take, the more volume of glass that you get. But I have two statistics for you. This, you can, when you see this, you'll see the burn marks. So this is how, you're probably about here when the heat of the piece is close enough to burn your skin. So think about that. But the other interesting fact I have for you, physics-wise, when your glassblowers use this, they're on a bench, and the piece sits on a rail, acts like a fulcrum. The weight of the piece doubles every 12 inches away that your hand gets, which is important because bigger pieces are hot. So if you're making that octopus that we saw a picture of is probably 18 pounds, but it's big. So you're holding out here, so it's more like 70 when they're sculpting it, and it's as hot as molten lava. So I'll start this down here since we were.
What kind of metal does it melt? What kind of metal?
It's steel, so it just has a really high melting coefficient. But the thing that's amazing is that a lot of the tools that glassblowers use are wood. These we call these blocks. Glassblowers use them to help make something round. So they take the glass that's on the blowpipe and roll the pipe through this mold to take the circular shape. But the way that these work is they sit in a bucket of water for the day. So the water absorbs into the wood, and instead of burning the wood, the steam that's put off by the water evaporating cushions the tool from getting burned by the heat of the glass. But they use these. This is a pretty foundational glass blowing tool, because before you can sculpt anything, you have to build the bubble that you're working with to be symmetrical, so that it heats and cools evenly. So here, I'll do this one. These are, they do burn eventually, so they get decommissioned. You can see this one finally wore out, so the hot shop let me take it. Let's see. I don't do this when we have school tours, but you guys look trustworthy, so I'm gonna do this. These two tools are 500 years, have not changed in 500 years. These are two staples of Italian glassblowing. This pair of tongs is called a pair of jacks. And these work in two ways. They can be tweezers, so you can pull hot glass. Most of these tools exist so you don't get burned trying to shape something that acts as your hand. So these can be tweezers, but the other thing they do is help make things circular while they're spinning. So once you have a goblet, for example, and you want that goblet to be round, you can put these on the inside of the bubble and let the bubble spin around them like backwards calipers, basically. But these have not changed in the 500 years that Lena worked. And these are called diamond shears because of the shape. They're sharp. Don't stick your finger in there. That's why I can't give them to kids. But they're called diamond shears, and they're this shape to help cut the glass all the way around when they're trimming it while it's molten. So here, I'll start this one this way. I'll get that one. But the shape of these tools hasn't changed in quite a while. And the other thing that's remarkable about the Northwest, thanks to this community, is a lot of tools are custom made, and a lot of those tool makers work here on the peninsula, actually. These, let's see, here's a torch. This is a torch head. A lot of the heating and reheating, you'll see when you watch glass blowing, the pipe goes in and out of what we call a reheating furnace, pictured right there on my title slide. But when artists are working, it's easier for the glass to be soft, so they'll use a torch to heat up the specific place they're working on.
You can start to understand why it takes so many people.
So many people and so long. So it takes, if you're making a fancy wine glass, maybe an hour or 2 hours. I've frequently seen pieces like the octopus take multiple days because they'll build the parts and then assemble them at the very end. But these, everybody loves putting on these, so I'll pass these around. These are the mittens. So the part we don't talk about ever, because the beginning is so cool, is what happens at the end. So when a piece is finished, to get it off the pipe, they use those jacks to dip. They dip the jacks in the bucket of water that those blocks sit in, and they drip water on the neck of the piece on the blowpipe, and the change in temperature causes the piece to crack. And then they have this elegant moment where they use the end of the jacks and they tap the pipe, and the crack knocks the piece off. But they catch that piece, sometimes in a full suit, usually in a full suit. But these are Kevlar mittens. They're made of firefighter suit equipment. So if it's a big piece, they wear the Chernobyl, kit and caboodle. But for something like a wine glass, they're just catching it with this. And we have a series of ovens that we call annealing ovens, and they work with a computer to cool at different rates. So at the beginning of the day, they program it to cool based on what they know they're making. So something like a wine glass needs 8 hours to cool. And something like that octopus is probably overnight or a day or two.
So you just pulled it out and let it go, it would just crack.
Yeah, usually it would just crack. Sometimes with a glass like borosilicate, the Pyrex glass, it works differently because it doesn't cool the same way. But yes, it usually would crack.
I have a question.
Sure.
How that one that you did the weight, remember that was carved in?
Yeah.
Went on fire?
Yeah.
But they carve it in, but still it's smooth. So how does it get back to be smooth again? You're carving with a diamond.
Very carefully. A lot of very detailed. That is all hand smooth. Oh, I see what you're asking. No, the width of the pad that they're using to engrave can change. And to do the smoothing, they use more like a leather belt than a grit. So they, like sandpaper, you can adjust the amount of texture that you're using to engrave.
I never knew that you could smooth glass.
Yeah. If you move a belt fast enough, you can. But it's usually a leather belt with diamond grit and water pasted onto it. Yeah, and these, because we were talking about Italian patterns, these are all examples of how pattern looks before glass blowers chop it up and make it into Marini. So this corkscrew one is called Zamfirico cane. It's an Italian technique where they take straight tubes and twist them against each other. But I'll let you guys, these are just a little example. And then for the other side that's always so patient, another way they add color to clear glass is by using, you're filming me. I'm sorry, Jill. I'm involved. I'm a hands-on lecturer. So this is called frit. It works like granulated sugar. So they will put it on the marver. This particular frit would add a polka dot pattern to the glass, or a ombre pattern, depending on how you apply it. But this frit is some of the Chihuly frit they use to make those spotted. Yeah, it's cool. And the heat of the bubble helps it melt. Some of the time they keep it. We have a piece of equipment we call the garage, which is because it's a box that the inside is always 900 degrees. So you can make something and park it and keep it warm, like a proving oven kind of. But I'll let you guys pass around this. You can now say you've touched a Chihuly frit.
There's a local glass studio where a person can go and for a modest fee play with glass.
Oh, great! That's awesome.
Yeah, Lisa Stret.
That's wonderful. Yeah. That's great. And I highlight all of those studios are usually artist run, so definitely.
It's usually you make a mosaic or something, and then they put it in the
Cool. That's great. I was trying to find if there was anywhere in Bremerton that you could actually try glass blowing, but it looked like Tacoma was the closest to here. But we do have glass blowing at the museum, and there's a couple of great studios. Oh, and this last one, since I'm here, this is what the color looks like when you buy it from a color company. It's a little piece of what is called a color bar. So you can either chop this up into smaller pieces or melt it and put it on the top. And this is the last piece of, this is probably the most important to a glassblower piece of equipment. This is a paddle that they use to shield the gaffer who's working with the glass from the immediate heat of the piece. So it's a large cutting board. Oh, and it's covered in ash, of course it is. When it starts and as it slowly gets burned down, but it helps shield whoever's working from the immediate heat of the reflection. But that's just, I'm not going to pass this around because why would you want it? Sure.
How do they get the powdered glass to put down and then burn the piece of glass on it like the birds?
Ooh, they arrange it basically with a stylus, like a sand painting. And the lines are longer sticks of glass that they've melted with a torch and put on top of it and then picked up.
Do they have to work in reverse?
Yes, that's a great question. The question was, do they have to work in reverse when they draw? Yes. And often they have to work with the front color on the bottom of the pile. Yeah, it's very complicated.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, you guys. Appreciate it. Yeah.